Let me welcome you all to episode 3, where I'm going to discuss how to differ. Actors audition to get parts in a play. Quite often, the actor gets turned down. Being turned down a number of times is very discouraging, and the actor tends to lose self-confidence. So their agents tell them, "You're an apple, we are looking for oranges." This does not mean you are a bad actor or a bad apple. They simply want something different. Some people like spaghetti with a puttanesca sauce. Some people prefer an arrabbiata sauce, and some like a traditional Neapolitan. These are all different, but there is no suggestion that one is better than the other. Children in a family can be different from each other, but may all be equally loved by their parents. Two sorts of difference. Surprising as it may seem, it is said that in the dark, most people would be unable to distinguish between whiskey and cognac. So, in the dark, a glass is handed around and players in the game are asked to guess what is in the glass. Some people say it is whiskey, others say it is cognac. The opinions differ, but there is only one truth or correct answer. What is in the glass? What is in the glass is either whiskey or cognac, and not both. So the opinions differ, but only one set of opinions is right. What is this? There may be differences of opinion, but at best only one will be right. They may all be wrong. So there is the type of difference where one opinion is right and other opinions are not right. There is, however, another sort of difference. Consider the following two statements. If we raise the selling price of the magazine, fewer people will want to buy it and we shall lose money. If we raise the selling price of the magazine, people will regard it as a more prestigious magazine and we may even get more readers, in addition to the extra revenue from the sales. Whenever we look forward into the future, it is always possible to have different opinions about what might happen. It is very difficult in foresight to tell which opinion is right. There may in some cases be research or precedents to suggest which opinion may turn out to be correct. Usually, however, the future is open to differences of opinion. Sources of difference. This food needs more salt. This food has enough salt. Differences may arise from personal preferences. Some people like horror movies. Some people like bang bang movies. Some like westerns. There is enough difference in personal taste to enable most people to marry a partner of their choice. Let us imagine that two people are arguing over the best way to get from A to B. "It would be best to go through the village of Clickford," says one. "Using the turnpike would be a better bet," says the other. It all depends on what is meant by best way. There are several possible meanings. Best means the fastest route. Best means the most scenic route. Best means the easiest route to follow. Best means the route with least traffic. Best means the shortest route. Unless best is clearly defined, the differences of opinion are all valid. It may be that for one person the easiest route to follow is the best. For other person the fastest route is best, and so on. Envisage a person standing to the north of a church, who describes the church from that point of view. Another person is standing to the south of the church and describes the church from that point of view. Both views are valid views of the church. They are different, but both are valid. There is a story of a man who painted half his car white and the other half black. His friends asked him why he had done this strange thing. He replied, "When I have an accident, it is fun hearing the witnesses in court contradict each other. One witness claims it was a white car which knocked the cyclist over. Another witness, also under oath, claims it was actually a black car. Both witnesses would be right, given their different points of view. From the point of views of people who have to borrow money for business or mortgages, a low interest rate is a good thing. From the point of view of those who lend money or live on the income from savings, a low interest rate is not a good thing at all. There is a strong difference of opinion, but both opinions are correct. A different point of view will give a different perception, even from the same point of view. However, there can be differences of perception. From a parent's point of view, the use of computers in school enables the children to access a vast range of information that would otherwise be inaccessible. From a parent's point of view, computers reduce the social interaction between youngsters and so limit their social experience and the ability to get on with others. Both perceptions are from the same parent's point of view. Both are valid, yet they are different. In another example, the pessimist looks at a glass half filled with wine and claims it is half empty. The optimist looks at it and says it is half full. The re-engineering consultant looks at it and claims there is too much glass. The winemaker looks at it and notes that it is red wine. Different values will always lead to a difference of opinion. When the US government suggested giving child benefits to babies still in the womb, different values led to the difference of opinion. There were those who welcomed the acknowledgement that pregnant women had extra needs due to the child they were carrying, so it was logical to give much-needed assistance. There were those who saw the move as a way to discourage abortion because the unborn child had been declared to be a human being. It might also mean that abortions could now be reported and recorded. When more and more students achieved higher grades in school-leaving examinations in the UK, there were those who welcomed the fact that more pupils were now getting good grades which might help them in the job market. There were others, however, who lamented the dumbing down of the examinations and who asked for a new superior grade so the elite of the cleverest could still be picked out. Differences are also based on differing experience. A teacher teaching in an economically deprived area will have experiences different from those of a teacher in a more affluent area. For example, we find that the direct teaching of thinking as a skill in schools has a marked effect on self-esteem and behavior in deprived areas. Youngsters now feel able to take control of their lives to make decisions, choices and plans. In affluent areas, the effect is more on the schoolwork than on behavior. The experience of a person coming out of a bad marriage will differ from that of a person in a good marriage. I remember one young Australian woman, Katie, telling me that in an ideal marriage, the wife should adore the husband and he should appreciate that. Whenever I quote that to other people, there is a wide difference in response. It should be the other way round, or it should be equally balanced. These differences arise from direct personal experience, a good or bad marriage, perhaps from experience within a family, or from the experience of others. As read in magazines, for instance, there can be a huge difference in regard to the views of the future. No one can be sure about the future. We can get some idea about the future from the past and from research. At best, these only give some indications of what might happen, a guess. Personal experience and experience within a field will also help to form ideas about the future. Suppose there was a suggestion that marriage could be a formal 5-year contract, which could be renewed at the end of 5 years if both parties so wished. There would also need to be a provision for any children born during the 5 years. What would happen to the society? What would happen to men and women? What would happen to the children? The judgment as to whether this was a sound suggestion or not would depend on personal values and experience. The judgment, however, could only be applied if you, personally, looked into the future. You have to imagine the possible consequences before you can judge the value of the suggestion. There might be many possibilities. The outcome would not be uniform. Some might be affected for the better, some for the worse. It could be argued that those in a happy marriage would simply renew the contract. Those in a poor marriage would have a simple way out. Others might envisage irresponsible people going through a series of marriages. Spell out the difference. The most important thing to do about differences of opinion is to spell out as clearly as possible the actual difference. For example, I think that raising prices will increase sales. You think that raising prices will reduce sales. I believe that thinking can be taught directly as a skill in school. You believe you cannot teach thinking directly, but you can only pick up good thinking habits through studying other subjects. You believe that severe punishment is the best way to control crime in all cases. I believe that giving youngsters an alternative way of sensing achievement will reduce crime amongst the young. Lay out the differing opinions alongside each other. Seek to be as honest as you can about this. Get the other person to agree that you have spelled out the point of difference correctly. If necessary, invite the other person to summarize the point of difference as he or she sees it. Try to reach the point where you can say, "We agree to differ on this point." Spell out the reasons for the difference. Having laid out the nature of the difference, the next step is to try to lay out the reason for the difference. I believe that you are looking at it from that point of view, and I'm looking at it from this point of view, and give the two different points of view. We are looking at it in two different ways. This is my perception, and I believe your perception to be, and give the two perceptions. The difference may arise from personal preference. You like clever people, and I prefer charming people. We are using different sets of values. My values are as follows. Your values seem to be, and lay out the differing values. The difference may arise from differing personal experience. My experience has been. Your experience may have been different. Give your personal experience. We seem to have different views about what might happen in the future. My view is based on. Your view seems to be different. Give some basis for your view of the future. Accept the difference. Before accepting the difference, an attempt should be made to reconcile the difference. Sometimes it can be shown that both opinions are valid, but they apply to different parts of the situation. For instance, I accept that for many types of crime, severe punishment is the best deterrent, but for the youth crime, I think there is another approach. Give youngsters other opportunities for achievement. This is very similar to the suggestions made in episode 1, How to Agree. It might be shown that both parties are not really looking at the same thing. In the case of the half-empty wine glass, one person is looking at the empty space, and the other person is looking at the remaining wine. As in the example of the best route from A to B, a clear definition of what is best can often reconcile differences of opinion. An opinion is a sort of judgment. What is the basis of that judgment? Are we looking to see if something is good for society in general, or just for me? Differences of personal experience can be jointly explored. It may be that the experience is valid, but the interpretation of the experience is not necessarily the only one. Maybe youngsters in deprived areas do commit more crime, and not because of economic needs, but because they have to relate more to a gang than to their family. And gangs have to have activity. Differences of opinion about the future can be explored by looking at parallel situations, such as when they raised the price of that perfume, sales actually increased. There may be precedents. Some of them may be more valid than others. Raising the price of a perfume may not be the same as raising the price of a magazine. Research and further information may help sort out the differences about the future. There is no way of being certain about the future, but some guesses are more likely than others. The intention is to work together and try to forecast the future. Having made a genuine effort to reconcile the different opinions, there may be an agreement to disagree. This may take form of an agreement that with different priorities or different sets of values, opinions will inevitably differ. At least the basis for the difference will be clear to all parties. Difference of opinion is not a bad thing. Difference enriches the situation. Clarification of different values and experiences adds to the discussion. The intention is not to remove the difference because difference is bad, but to investigate a subject through exploring the basis for the difference. There is nothing worse than a hidden difference, where both parties think they are discussing the same thing from the same point of view, with the same values and experience, and this is not so at all. The fiercest and the stupidest of arguments actually arise in this manner. This is like the witnesses in court arguing whether the accident was caused by a white car or a black car. It would have never occurred to them that a single car could be both black and white at the same time. Now let's summarize how to differ. There are times when only one of the different sets of opinions can be right. This is where truth can be checked out. More often, different opinions can have all their own validity. Difference may arise from a different definition on the basis of judgment, the best road. Difference may arise from personal preference, taste, or choice. Difference may arise from a different sets of values. Difference may arise from a different point of view or perspective. Difference may arise from a different perception, even if from the same point of view. Difference may arise from a differing personal experience or differing knowledge. Difference may arise from a different point of possible futures. Seek to lay out as clearly as possible the nature of the difference. Lay one opinion alongside the different one. Seek to explore and explain the reasons for the difference. Seek to reconcile the differences and then agree to differ on what cannot be reconciled. I hope you liked this episode. Stay tuned for episode 4 where we will be discussing how to be interesting.